What we're here to talk about today is the gift of spiritual healing. That every human being in this world has a capability of healing their fellow man, healing themselves, and it is the fact that some people have a very strong gift of healing, just as some people have a gift of being able to see at a distance. And would like to, through this discussion and this series that we're doing, show people how real that is, how it can become a part of your life, how it can be the central power on a healing center, such as Healing in America, that you have here in Ojai, California. And I would say for those who are listening to us, that we're coming to you from the Healing in America Center in Ojai, California, which is a very unique town that sits back from the seacoast in California, not too far from Ventura and near Santa Barbara, California. And it is a magic place, and it has attracted Roger Ford and Kim to come here and start a center. And the first question I'd ask both of you is, what inspired you to come here?
So we had a healing centre in England, in a place called Churchill, which is just outside of Bristol on the west coast. And one of the clients that came to see Kim and myself was an Englishman who lived in Ojai for many years. And he unfortunately had a brain tumour. We worked with him quite a lot. His brain tumour went into remission. And he kept talking about this place called Ojai, which we'd never heard of. But he kept saying to us, you really need to take this work, this spiritual healing, to America, because it's badly needed. So eventually we looked up Ojai on the internet. It took us a while to spell it, didn't it?
It did.
If I remember rightly. But then we saw these beautiful pictures of the mountains and everything. And so I booked a flight, flew over, and felt that the energy here was very special. I made a few contacts, went back and was very excited about it. And then Kim flew out and she felt the same. And then when she came back, I said, well, what should we do? And Kim said, well, let's just meditate and just ask, what is it you want us to do? So we did that, and we just asked the question, and this loud voice said, move. And that took us back a little bit. We weren't quite expecting that. But we teach people on our workshops that we need to follow our intuition, our gut feeling, if you will. And so we did. We just took that step of faith, and we moved. And within 6 or 7 weeks, I think we were.
It happened so quickly, didn't it?
Everything was just
everything lined up and fell into place for us to move here. Our house sold very quickly. We found a house on the internet, and we were here. And it happened so quickly. It was a bit of a shock, actually.
And that was the end of 2002. And certainly initially, when we first arrived, we just assumed that America would be so far in front of the rest of Europe in terms of integrating healthcare that it came quite a shock when we started phoning doctors to say that here we are, we're spiritual healers, expecting them to say, well, come and see me. And of course, they didn't. They put the phone down, not other. So we suddenly realized that maybe America wasn't right at the forefront of integrated healthcare in this respect. But we continued working away and found a doctor in Santa Barbara who was a surgeon, and he loved what we did. He was very supportive of us, and he helped us with our first workshop, didn't he?
First talk, we gave a talk in Santa Barbara and had a really good turnout for it. And that was really the launch of what started us, getting to be more well known over here.
So what we were doing is the work that we were doing in England, and we were both trained by the organisation in England called the National Federation of Spiritual Healers, which was started in the 1950s, 1954, by Harry Edwards. And he was a world-class healer, with a world well-renowned healer who had spontaneous healings. And even in the 1950s, he used to get 5,000 or 6,000 people coming to his demonstrations. And despite all of his permanent healings, and he was working with some fairly well-known people, despite of all this proof that healing really worked, he couldn't get the medical profession in England at that time to accept the spiritual healing. So he decided that the only way it would work would be to train quite a lot of people. And put around the training some very strict rules and regulations. So he had a very strict code of ethics, what we could do, what we couldn't do. For instance, we're not allowed to diagnose. And by the early 1960s, he actually wrote to all of the hospitals in England asking if people that he'd trained could go into the hospitals and do spiritual healing. And over half of them wrote back and said, yes, we would like you to come in and work on the wards. And then the British Medical Association heard about what was going on, and they wanted to have a meeting with Harry Edwards to see what he was doing. At the end of the meeting, they helped him to rewrite the letter to send to the people, to the hospital board that hadn't accepted the healing. And within the next 2.5 years, every hospital board in the United Kingdom opened their doors to spiritual healers that had been trained.
The doctor still needed to remain in charge of the patient, but there was an openness that happened for energy healing to be integrated into the medical profession.
So that was way back in the 60s, and by the 1970s, by 1977, the British Medical Association actually wrote to every medical doctor giving them permission to refer their patients to spiritual healers that have been trained by our organisation. And so it's now spread. The organisation in England is the largest in Europe, one of the largest in the world. It has several thousand members, and both Kim and I belong to that organisation. And when we came to America, we affiliated with the English organisation, so we're very close to that organisation. And we built this organisation, which is a non-profit Healing in America, on the basis that it succeeded in England. And we're now taking this work out to many other states. We have trainers that do our work in many other states now. And we're very excited about the way that people are starting to sort of come on workshops and learning that, yes, we do all have that gift of healing.
Each and every one of us has that ability. And I think some of us are more drawn to it than others. Some people, have more empathy and want to help people more. But everybody has that innate gift and ability. We just need to really learn to tap into it. So, often I think it's, how do we do it? That's the question. And actually it's really quite a simple process.
It is one of the approaches that Harry Edwards took and that we've taken, obviously, is that it's a very grounded approach. The way we teach our students is a very grounded approach to healing. And it doesn't look strange. It doesn't look weird. So that in England, for instance, we used to get a lot of doctors on our workshops, a lot of nurses, and they embrace this sort of work. And over here, we've had quite a lot of nurses come on our workshops. We've actually had approval for the workshops by the California Board of Registered Nurses and also the American Holistic Nurses Association. So we're able to offer continuing education units to nurses and also to massage therapists. So we're trying to bring more and more professional people so that we can take the work out, show everybody that we all have that gift to heal ourselves. That's the first thing. We have to take our power back and take responsibility for our own health. And then a lot of people go on to actually help other people. So that's what we do. The workshops are usually a 12-month period. We have a training period. People join Healing in America as interns. I know in England they call them probationers, which has a different meaning over here.
Doesn't go down well here.
We realised when we started calling people probationers, they gave us strange looks. So we changed that to interns. And then after a 12-month period, people, if they wish, can become certified healers of healing in America. And for that, they need to have proof that they've worked with clients, they've done our workshops. We have 3 workshops in the course of a year. And they have an interview they have to show us the way that they do the healing to make sure that they do healing in the way that they've been taught by us.
We also have a strict code of ethics. One of the things that's really important to us in the organisation is that people have very similar experiences, so that we build up that level of safety. So if you go to see one of our healers here in California, and then you go see one in Florida or in New York, you would have a very similar experience. Therefore, giving people the safety that these people are well trained, they know what they're doing, and there's a process that people can just go through.
And our aim, if you like, our goal with Healing in America is to bridge that gap. There is a big gap at the moment between complementary therapy and allopathic medicine. And part of our mission is to bring these two closer together. And we're very careful about the words that we use. We use the word complementary rather than alternative. I know a lot of people use that word, but I think complementary is the much better word to use, because if you're ill, if you're seriously ill, if you have appendicitis, then you definitely need surgery. But what we've shown is that by going to a healer before surgery and after surgery, then it absolutely speeds up the healing process. There's no question about that at all. And so we really want to take the fear away from the medical profession that we're trying to encroach upon their territory, but with a lot of their patients, having spiritual healing would really be more beneficial than necessarily putting them onto medication. And as you know, a lot of people are on medication and there are lots of side effects. And so although we never ever say to a client, come off your medication, we do try to encourage doctors to look at complementary medicine as a way of enhancing what they're doing and speeding up the healing process.
There have certainly been a lot of studies showing that people that receive energy healing after they've had surgery or even while they're going through a healing process, actually their pain levels are lowered, their emotional state is a lot higher, and their recovery rate is a lot quicker too. So it works really well together, and I think we really need to step away from the idea that it's one or the other, that actually we all work together.
Yeah. And that's important. And some of the work we've done here, we've worked in some of the local hospitals, usually in the oncology departments, where they tend to be more open to complementary therapies. And we've seen some amazing results. Amazing results. And spiritual healing is probably one of the oldest modalities. And I really believe that as we move forward, people are going to start using all of the complementary medicines, not just spiritual healing, but many of the other modalities to enhance their healing process. The first step is for us to accept the fact that sometimes when we're ill, we have to make changes ourselves. And Kim and I both see a lot of clients, and some of them, they want to get better, but they don't want to change anything. So they perhaps are abusing, their lifestyle is perhaps wrong, they're maybe not eating the right foods, they're not doing exercise, and they want fixing, but they don't want to change anything. And so part of what we do is to try and encourage them to think about, not telling them what to do, but to think about maybe some of these other things would be useful towards their healing process.
And I think a lot of clients that come to see us actually reach that point where they on some level know something needs to be changed. But often they don't know how to. People have been stuck in the same old routines. And also there's a lot of information out there. So trying to sift through that can be quite challenging for people. And so, part of our job is to really awaken them to be able to follow their own intuition and their own guidance. Because, we all have our own internal guidance system, our own connection to the divine or to God. that leads us in the right direction, if we listen to it. And sometimes it's really about letting go of fear and being present to following that, no matter what anybody else around you is saying. So, that's one of the things that happens with a lot of people that we see, is they start to really take control of their lives in a whole new way.
And a lot of people think, well, in fact, we learned a new word when we came here, which we'd never heard of before, which was woo-woo. Mm-hmm. And we met a few woo-woo people.
Oh, have you?
We quickly learned what it meant. But spiritual healing is scientifically based. There's a lot of evidence out there of proof that it works. It's not just some fad, it's not some woo-woo thing, but it really is. And we know that even science now accepts the fact that we are energy. Everything on our planet is energy. And therefore we can affect the energy of other people by bringing down that divine source, that energy from whatever you believe it comes from, whether you believe it comes from God or the infinite, or whatever you believe. But a healer just channels that energy through them into a client. And what effect that has is to rebalance the energy of the client, the patient. And then our own bodies start to kick in and heal themselves. I mean, our bodies are designed to heal. And it's only when we get in the way that we stop that healing process very often.
So although we use the term healers, what we're really doing is teaching people to be conduits for the energy. Because it really isn't us. It's a connection to the divine source or God or whatever word you want to put around it. But really we are just conduits for that energy. That, as Rog says, it kickstarts the body into its own healing process.
And we've seen some amazing things happen over the years, as you can imagine. True miracles. And it isn't myself, it isn't Kim. Something changes when people receive healing. And it's very much an experiential thing to go through. It's very difficult in some ways to explain what it is or what it feels like. But people that come on workshops, we see a huge shift from when they first come on the first workshop to the time they've finished. They are so much more in tune with themselves, with nature, with everything. And they change physically, don't they? They look better and younger, and
we need to start taking before and after pictures.
Yes, we should. And the purpose of healing in America is really to take people who are either curious or really feel, a lot of people actually feel inside they've got some sort of gift, but they're not sure how they can develop that gift in a very safe and secure way. So we offer these workshops for people that are absolutely brand new. A lot of people that come on the workshops have been doing healing for many years, but they perhaps want to have more formal training, more support. And we have a lot of people who are Reiki masters. A lot of nurses are now starting to come on them. So all walks of life, but everybody gets a lot from the workshops. Obviously we cover a lot of information on them, but they're also a lot of fun, and we try to make the workshops quite light. It's not like, really heavy stuff, and the results are absolutely amazing. So one of the other things that obviously happens when people are drawn to this sort of work is that there's a great realization that we are spiritual beings. We just happen to be in this physical body at this particular time, and therefore that awareness of spirituality is enhanced by doing this sort of work. And people who are really open to spirit and spiritual practices really are the ones that seem to have the healings. The divine seems to just align with them, or they align with the divine, and amazing things happen. And I think there's more and more people now at that threshold. I think we're moving forward. I think there's a big change of consciousness at the moment going on throughout the whole world, not just here. And as we start to become aligned to that spirituality, then we're going to see some more amazing things happen in the future. But we still have to keep very grounded. It's very much keeping your feet on the ground.
I think a lot of people that, have illness now are starting to look at the bigger picture. And often within that is the gift of learning to be much more connected with spirit and to be guided by that. It's certainly, when we're working with people, there's something in it for them to learn. We have so many people that come back and say, getting cancer was one of the greatest gifts I ever received, which sounds extraordinary. But the journey that they go on is a journey that really allows them to grow inside and start to take a serious look at their lives and drop away those things that don't serve them anymore. They start to meditate, they start to receive healing. A lot of people will then go on to become healers, and open up more compassionately and more empathetically to people who are struggling. So I think there's always a gift in it, and it's very hard when you're in it and you're in fear to realise there's something here for me to learn. This is a gift in some way. We see a lot of people, through our healers and through our personal work with one-to-one clients, that, once they discover that, healing, it seems to be, once they realize the gift of healing, that the gift of the illness, that things start to align within them. Energetically, they start to align, they become much more conscious of their spiritual aspects, and realize that it's not just physical, we're not just physical, as Rob said, it's physical, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, and the spiritual component is a huge one.
Yes, without that, I suspect people probably wouldn't get better. And as Kim said, a lot of people, I think, suddenly start looking at their lives, and we try to convey to people that you don't suddenly get a heart attack, you don't suddenly get cancer, and the body's been sending out all of these signals for many, many years in many cases, and we ignore it. We just sort of forget about it, and then I think the universe says, okay, well, you've ignored all that, try this. And then we become seriously ill, and that is the opportunity for people to either look at their life and change it, or not. I mean, we all have free will, but many people then look on that as an opportunity of changing their lives, and they change them in an amazing way in many cases. There are other people, of course, that don't want to get better. They actually present themselves as being ill, and they want healing. But on some very deep level, there are advantages of being ill. And so sometimes we get clients that are in that state. And we have to honour that. But at some point, maybe we point out to them, well, have you thought about what would happen if you did this or if you did that? And then it's really up to them as to whether they decide to follow that path or not.
Well, and it's also guiding them in a way that, whatever it is that they're getting from the attention or something else, or the love, very often people will suddenly get attention and love from being sick. It's guiding them to a more positive way so that they can let go of the illness and be in the wellness and actually receive and give the love, but in a different way.
And we try and ask people or suggest to people they do look on the positive side of life. There are a lot of people who are very negative about everything, and then they tend to attract lots of negative things within their lives, in relationships, in jobs, in health, and everything else. So just by being positive ourselves and helping them to see a more positive aspect of life, that in itself can be quite healing. But I truly believe we all have a gift, an amazing gift of healing. For some people it comes easier than others, a little bit like sometimes children can pick up a violin at 3 years old and play a violin or a piano with this amazing gift, and others can still learn how to play the piano or the violin, but it takes them a little longer. But we all have a natural gift of healing, and what we do is to give you the tools to be able to enhance that gift, both for yourself and for other people. On a personal level, I was just talking about how sometimes, we need something as a wake-up call to put us on the right path, if you will. I had a wake-up call in the early 1990s when I had a heart attack. And up until that time, I'd been doing a job which it was a well-paid job, but I knew it wasn't the right job for me. And I was doing my healing in the weekends and in the evenings. And I kept getting these messages, just let go of the job, just let go of the job. And I was fearful because I had a house, I had 2 children, mortgage and all the other things that everybody has. And then I think the universe got a little bit tired of my excuses, so it gave me something to think about. So as I lay in intensive care, I decided this is the call, this is what I need to change. And once I got back out of the hospital and spent a few weeks recovering from my heart attack, I decided to just let go of the job, the main job, and just trust that the universe would provide. And it certainly did. It was amazing what happened. As soon as I let go of the fear, the universe seemed to draw people to me for healing, and the phone started to go. More and more people wanted to come onto workshops. And so that was a big personal experience for myself. I guess I was a little bit slow in listening to all those little messages, intuitive messages, so the universe decided to give me a little bit of a kick to make me think about it. And I did.
You did. It got you here.
It got me here.
I was actually born into a family where my grandmother was a healer and a medium. And so for me, healing was always normal and natural. And so from about the age of 4 or 5, I was putting my hands on people and they were changing and, clearing up headaches and arthritis and things like that very quickly. It wasn't until I got to school that I realised this isn't considered normal. But one of the ways my grandmother taught me to do healing was to absorb the illness. She used to absorb the illness into her own body. So if she was working with someone that had arthritis, she would draw it into her own body and, have trouble moving her fingers or whatever. And then it would take her a couple of hours sometimes to clear the energy from herself. And that to me, I used to do it that way. It never made any sense. They would walk away feeling fine and I wouldn't. So within our organisation, one of the things we do is actually teach people how to protect their energy. Because there are those people that are incredibly empathic and really, really have a strong desire to help other people. But we end up taking on too much. So, protecting your own energy, I think, is so important. And so one of the tools that we use is how do you protect your energy? How do you keep your auric field, your space clear, so that you can be a clear channel? So that was one of my experiences that introduced me really to energy healing. And then, of course, as a healer, when you're actually in that space of being a conduit, it's such a profound space. You are a channel of divine energy. And to me, that is always such a humble experience. It's such a beautiful place to be. And you're channeling energy into your clients. So they're receiving energy healing, but so are you. So, they walk away maybe with the illness or the vibration of the illness cleared from their system. And, as a healer, you can end up at the end of the day feeling better than when you started. It's quite wonderful.
And the protection is really important. I mean, we teach people, first of all, how to use the divine energy, how to attune to that energy, because a lot of people come to us and say, I've been doing healing for a while, but I always get tired. I always, put my hands on people and they feel good, as Kim said, but they feel exhausted. So we teach people how they can protect themselves and make sure that they're not using their own energy, but they're actually connecting to that divine source, to that spiritual source of energy. But it is a humbling experience. It's something which I would encourage everybody who feels drawn, even in the slightest way, to this sort of work, to find out more about it and find out, because people amaze themselves. At the end of our first workshop, even after the first day of a workshop, when they start doing healing, they actually get feedback from someone else that they can actually feel the energy flowing through them. They're absolutely amazed that they have this gift. And all that we've done is just to awaken that gift that they already have. So if anyone feels drawn to it, then please contact us. We'll be more than happy to send you information, talk to you, answer any questions. And you can get the information from healinginamerica.org, or you can call us on 805-640-0211.
I think the other thing that's important is that people are looking for an organisation to belong to. They're looking for a place to belong with like-minded people. And I think that's one of the reasons a lot of people join us in the organisation, is because together we can move much further than we can individually. And it's wonderful to have a healing community, and to have support and people that you can connect with and share your experiences, your breakthroughs and your breakdowns, and to just have that guidance on this healing path. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I just got back from a weekend in Florida, doing a workshop there, and there's a big community of healers there, and people are coming in now. This is in a church, a Unity church, and a lot of the public are coming in for healings every couple of weeks, and it really is making a huge difference. And we feel honoured to be part of creating this community of like-minded people. We're pleased we came, right?